So, The Simpsons has had a lot of Halloween episodes over the years, and by the time this video comes out, it will likely be that this year's Treehouse of Horrors has already come out. Unless they air in November again, which I doubt because it's supposed to be the third episode of the season. Now, I really love the Treehouse episodes, and a part of that is because depending on my mood, Halloween is my favorite holiday, or it would be Christmas. Again, it depends on my mood. However, in the last 32 seasons of the show, The Simpsons has only had one non-Treehouse of Horrors Halloween episode, and that's kind of a shame because the episode Halloween of Horrors is really good. It starts the day before Halloween with The Simpsons putting up their Halloween decorations, which does seem a little weird to me. You would think if you're going to decorate, you would do it closer to the start of the month to get into the feel of the season instead of having 1 or 2 days before having to take it all back down the first week of November. Ned comes by to make a fourth wall joke about the Treehouse episode that followed this one. One thing I will say about this episode is that the family does all really seem to love the holiday and take it seriously. Everyone gets into the spirit of the season very early on, which allows the plot to flow naturally, something that a lot of newer episodes struggle with. Because they take Halloween seriously, when Bart comes out with their melted skeletons, they get a funny joke with Homer and head out to replace the skeletons. When they get to the Halloween pop-up store, we learn about Krusty's Halloween Horror Nights, which Lisa is excited about because she is finally old enough to go. Inside the store, we get to see Apu, who is working for the seasonal store, and we get to meet the antagonist of the story. 3 lazy mid-20 to mid-30 or 40-somethings that travel around being employed by pop-up stores, likely because they would get fired from any other job. They offer to shoplift some skeletons for Homer for money, and misunderstanding what they were doing, Homer immediately tells Apu and the 3 get fired.
Now take your suspiciously full duffel bags and go!
Though Homer gets to keep the 3 skeletons they stole. The 3 thieves vow to get revenge on Homer, and that night the family, minus Marge and Maggie, go to the Horror Night. Lisa immediately becomes scared of the attraction and begs Homer to take her home. Bart complains and Homer guilt trips and tries to reassure her to stay. I like this moment. While not perfect, it feels in line with something that Homer would do in the classic era, even down to taking Lisa's hand and walking with her through a crowd of zombies. It's a mix between Homer trying to be a good father while also not wanting to waste, if Disney's The Halloween of Horror Nights said this year's anything to go by, $156 for 3 tickets. That's a lot of money to spend to be somewhere for, and I counted 25 seconds between entering the park and wanting to go home, which is $6.24 a second. It doesn't justify Homer convincing Lisa to stay, but does make it more understandable. Now, I do think convincing Lisa to stay would be ultimately good as it grows her courage, but how he goes about it is wrong. Anyway, somewhere in the crowd, Lisa and Homer get separated from one another, and Lisa, now connected to a zombie, freaks out and runs away. She gets lost, and everyone she runs into is an actor. This scares her to the point where she completely shuts down, and the entire park shuts down with her. This event legitimately traumatizes Lisa, and they don't play it for laughs. The next day, she refuses to do anything for Halloween, refusing to even put on her costume, even though it isn't a scary costume. At the school, the, I won't say B-plot starts, though it may be a C-plot. Homer and Lisa's stories intertwine so much you could consider them either the A-plot or the A and B-plot. I do like the fact that Skinner targets Bart's costume, taking anything that he could use to cause trouble from him.
Oh, and just to reassure those who are afraid of pirates.
And we see Lisa having a panic attack due to the decorations. She hides in a locker until her mom comes to get her, likely because she refused to leave until one of her parents came to pick her up, and concerned, Marge tells Homer that they should cancel their Halloween decorations this year. We learn about an old stuffed toy that Lisa used to find comfort in called Taily. For Lisa, it's described as a crutch for her to deal with her emotions, and I will say this episode would have been better if Taily was something from an earlier season that was phased out, but Lisa never had a security blanket type of object, which I can't and won't hold against this episode. Anyway, Bart comes home to find all the decorations were removed because of Lisa being afraid, and Bart reacts how you would expect a kid to react if they were told they couldn't celebrate their favorite holiday. However, Marge has an ace up her sleeve and plans to take Bart to the best neighborhood that night, while Homer and Lisa stay at home. Homer tries to comfort Lisa until the 3 people he got fired show up at his house. I will point out that Homer lies to Lisa to keep her from getting scared, which she takes comfort in. As the 3 ramp up their revenge, Homer becomes increasingly unable to protect Lisa from what's happening and keep her from being scared. Meanwhile, Marge and Bart are unable to go trick-or-treating as the neighborhood stops people who don't live in the neighborhood from entering. Bart becomes disappointed and Marge scrambles to save his Halloween. Back at the house, Homer learns that the three invaded his house, and with his cell phone being stolen and the intruders forgetting to pay his phone bill, Homer panics and tries to get Lisa into Flanders' house to protect her. I really like this joke they threw in here too.
I want to finally find out which one is Rod and which one is Max.
Lisa realizes that she forgot Taylor before Homer can get her to Flanders' house and runs back inside, where there's 3 dangerous home invaders. She finds out about them and they end up running it upstairs where they hide in the attic. Back with Marge and Bart, trick-or-treating ends and we get a music number with all the adults of Springfield. It's short and nice enough, though not very memorable. Now, as the 3 intruders are destroying the house looking for Homer and Lisa, Homer admits to his daughter that he's afraid and tells her that they can't let fear shut down their brains. And this is a really nice, genuine moment with the two. Homer teaching Lisa this works super well in the story because he has been acting despite being afraid. Lisa quickly acts using the decorations they have in the attic to signal for help. However, in dramatic fashion, Homer knocks over the box with the skeletons they bought and the noises they make alerts the 3 downstairs to their location. Lisa locks the 3 out of the attic with a broom, stopping the attic door from lowering temporarily. They get to everything set up, but Homer can't light the fireworks because of the wind, so Lisa sacrifices Taylor to get a strong enough flame and signal for help.
Everscream Terrors needs our help. We can get plastered and hit on our co-workers later.
The 3 end up getting caught and arrested, and upon returning home, Bart gets a Halloween party. This is a fantastic episode. While not as funny as a classic episode, I do think this would hold up well in the early seasons. The Simpsons act in a very realistic way. It's no secret that the episodes after the first 8 or 9 seasons became increasingly wackier and more cartoonish, which while not entirely bad, it did change the overall tone of the show as The Simpsons became increasingly less relatable. And while I could talk about that in depth, for this video I want to focus on how this show does something that most modern Simpsons episodes tend to ignore. It has Bart and Lisa act like kids. Again, something that would require an entire video, but somewhere in the past 30-odd seasons, the show quit treating Bart and Lisa as the 10-year-old and 8-year-old that they are respectively. Now, from a mechanical and narrative point, yes, they are treated like kids, but from a character perspective, they rarely come across as kids. Instead, they normally come across as an adult playing a child. But this episode nails how a kid would reasonably react in this situation. Same with Homer and Marge. Every character is written well here. Marge is trying to protect Lisa from her fears, while also trying to give Bart the ability to enjoy Halloween, which would be difficult to do, and for Bart, it is understandable that he would be annoyed and increasingly angry that he can't do something because of events out of his control. And Homer doing everything in his power to keep Lisa calm while trying to deal with the 3 people who are actively trying to harm him without letting her know shows how far he's willing to go for her. Especially because Homer's fear comes off more as if he's afraid for Lisa's safety and feelings than his own. And I love that Lisa has to destroy the thing that gives her comfort. Normally it would be her having to act without the object showing that she doesn't need it. Instead, here it's Homer acting despite being afraid that allows her to overcome her own fear and get rid of her crutch once and for all. They all come off as genuine and believable in this episode, and if you haven't seen Halloween of Horrors, give it a watch, you won't regret it.